In the age of sagas and legend, when Viking longships cut through the cold northern seas, one name echoes louder than most: Ragnar Lodbrok. A king, a warrior, a legendary hero, and a man whose deeds were so extraordinary, they have been immortalized in Viking sagas and Norse history. Today, we unravel the story of Ragnar Lodbrok, the fearless Viking who would carve his name into the annals of history and mythology. Ragnar Lodbrok, born in the 9th century, is a figure whose true origins remain shrouded in mystery. Some say he was the son of the legendary Swedish king Sigurd Ring, while others suggest he was a mere commoner who rose to greatness. His name, Lodbrok, means hairy breeches, a reference to the legendary armor he wore made from animal pelts. But did this man really exist? Or is he just a myth forged from the imagination of poets and sagamen? What we do know is that Ragnar was a warrior king from the land of the Norse, a region we now call Scandinavia. From a young age, Ragnar's extraordinary fighting skills set him apart. It is said he led raids against the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms of England and Francia, earning a reputation for his boldness and cunning. By the time Ragnar came of age, the Viking world was a land of ruthless warriors, all vying for control and wealth. The Viking Age, which spanned from the late 8th to the early 11th century, was a period of great upheaval. The mighty Norsemen, once farmers and traders, had begun their transformation into some of the fiercest warriors the world had ever seen. Ragnar's rise to prominence began with raids against the Kingdom of Northumbria in England, a rich and vulnerable land ripe for Viking plunder. One of his earliest victories was the famed raid on Lindisfarne in 793 AD, a holy site that marked the beginning of a wave of Viking incursions into the British Isles. The Anglo-Saxons, who had long considered themselves immune to foreign attacks, were unprepared for the brutality and skill of Ragnar's forces. Ragnar's victories only grew in number. With his strategic brilliance, he laid siege to the walls of Paris twice, once in 845 AD and again in 859 AD. His reputation as a fearless warrior began to spread across Europe like wildfire. It was said that Ragnar's ferocity on the battlefield, coupled with his mastery of naval warfare, made him nearly invincible. His fleet of longships struck terror into the hearts of those who dared stand in his way. But Ragnar was more than just a warrior. He was a family man, and it is his children that would later cement his place in history. According to the sagas, Ragnar had many wives and children, but the most famous were Lagertha, Aslaug, and Kraka. Lagertha, a shield maiden of great renown, was said to be a fierce warrior in her own right. Her love and partnership with Ragnar played a vital role in his conquests. Aslaug, a woman of divine heritage, was the mother of his sons, who would go on to become legendary warriors themselves. Among his sons, Ivar the Boneless and Bjorn Ironside would stand out as two of the most feared Viking leaders in history. Ivar, known for his ruthlessness and cunning, led many successful raids and conquests. Bjorn Ironside, with his indomitable strength and leadership, became a key figure in the Viking campaigns in the Mediterranean. Together, Ragnar's sons carried on his legacy and continued to shape the future of the Viking world. As with all heroes, Ragnar's life was marked by both triumph and tragedy. His later years were filled with betrayal, struggle, and ultimately, his demise. In the 860s, Ragnar's kingdom began to falter. A key turning point in his saga came when he made the fateful decision to confront King Ella of Northumbria, a man who had long despised the Viking invaders. Ragnar, confident in his abilities, sailed into Northumbria with a fleet and an army, only to be betrayed and captured by Ella's forces. In a brutal twist of fate, Ragnar was thrown into a pit of snakes, where he met his death. According to the sagas, as the venomous snakes slithered around him, Ragnar is said to have uttered his last words. How the little pigs would grunt if they knew how the old boar suffers. A poignant prophecy of his son's revenge, and indeed, they would come for Ella. Ragnar's sons, spurred on by their father's death, would rise against King Ella in a quest for vengeance. The infamous Blood Eagle ritual, a gruesome act of retribution, was said to have been carried out on Ella's body. The saga of Ragnar Lodbrok ends with the blood of the Viking hero staining the earth and his sons avenging him in the most terrifying way. Ragnar Lodbrok's legacy is far from forgotten. Even centuries after his death, his name has become synonymous with the Viking Age itself. The sagas of his life, filled with daring feats, epic battles, and heart-wrenching tragedy, have inspired countless generations. Ragnar's story has become a beacon for those who long for adventure, courage, and the unyielding spirit of the Viking warrior. His descendants, including the famous Ivar the Boneless, Bjorn Ironside, and Ubba Ragnarsson, continued to lead the Viking world long after Ragnar's death, carrying on the legacy of one of the most legendary figures in Norse history. The line between myth and reality often blurs when it comes to Ragnar Lodbrok. Was he a real man, or merely a legendary figure created to inspire the next generation of Vikings? The truth may never be fully known, but what remains is the spirit of Ragnar, fierce, untamed, and unbroken. As we close the chapter on his life, we are reminded that the true essence of Ragnar Lodbrok lives on, not in the pages of ancient sagas, but in the hearts of those who dare to embrace the Viking spirit of adventure and valor.